to diminish the dominance of upper caste in India, public caste display of SC and ST OBC should persist. This article written by Gilles, Verniers, research scholar at Sciences Po, Paris. It is published on Economic Times on 26 September 2025. I thank Economic Times and Gilles Verniers. The Uttar Pradesh government issued a 10-point directive on Sunday to enjoin officials across the state to prohibit caste-based marking in public police record as well as public display of caste-based signs with the aim to eliminate caste-based discrimination. This directive is compliance measure with an Allahabad High Court judgment delivered on September 16th, in which the judge, in a case unrelated to caste, declared that routinely noting caste in FIRs, arrest memos or public records was regressive and anti-national because it glorified caste. The directive also furthers the prior decision of UP government to ban caste-based political rallies and to require erasure of caste signs in public space. Proponents of this decision argue that such forms of display and mobilization of caste identities are socially and politically divisive that the restriction favored equality. They underline the caste is frequently used to foment discord, discrimination and violence. Critics of the decision argue not withhold reason that simply banning caste display does not address the fact of discrimination and that preventing disadvantaged groups from using their caste identity to mobilize impedes their constitutional right to organize politically. One effect of such vague and sweeping order is to expand the scope of arbitrariness in the wielding of local authority. It will leave to local officials and power holders to determine what constitutes a legitimate and illegitimate caste display. Regarding police record, the ban on caste labels poses serious questions. While they can be used to profile or target communities, they are also necessary to track caste-based crimes. In many parts of India, including UP, caste hierarchies are enforced not through loud proclamation but through ordinary, normalized practices around the access and use of public spaces and facilities or around hiring. Dominant caste do not need signboards to signal power, their control of land and local institutions. Banning caste signs in housing societies, for example, does little to address housing segregation. On the contrary, non-dominant groups often rely on caste display to seek recognition and challenge the domination of entrenched elites. Such directives contribute to the delegitimizing the democratic expression of their identity and interest. What may be constructed as a glorification of caste includes the manifestation of pride from groups that have been historically marginalized. A caste-neutral facade allows the state to claim modernity and equality while more profound inequalities persist. It also shifts attention away from redistribution or affirmative action debates, focusing instead on symbolic erasure. If anything, banning caste display, however intended, reinforces the invisible ways caste works. There is a fundamental difference between curbing caste and concealing caste. Making caste invisible does not make it disappear. Quite the contrary, by erasing its sign in public, the structure of inequality that sustain it are left undisturbed, even reinforced. Invisibility benefits those who already dominate because their power appears natural and unique, unquestioned, while those who seek to resist or denied the visibility they needed to mobilize and demand justice. Banning public display of caste identity has little impact on dominant groups since their dominance does not rely on explicit caste signals. These bans weaken underprivileged groups' ability to assert themselves and mobilize and organize because these activities depend on visibility. As a result, the terrain gets further tilt. Dominance continues quietly while democratic expression loses one of its tools. Continuing the public display of caste for scheduled tribes and other backward classes is necessary to diminish upper caste of dominance is a complex argument that stems from several related viewpoints. Proponents argue that political expression of caste differences allows disadvantaged groups to demand a greater share of power and decision making and brings attention to issues of discrimination which can lead to supportive policies for marginalized communities. This perspective suggests that by making caste difference visible, it forces the issues of existing social inequalities and helps to ensure continued focus on affirmative action and upliftment of these communities. When caste differences are openly acknowledged and expressed, it allows disadvantaged groups to unite and demand their rights and representation in political and social spheres. Maintaining public awareness of these caste categories is crucial for the ongoing application of reservation policies in education and employment. These policies aims to provide opportunities to those historically excluded are seen as essential for achieving social equality and overcoming centuries of discrimination. The continued public display of SC and ST OBC caste is based on the idea that visibility is essential for mobilization and policy implementation to counter the dominance of upper caste. Amen. Bible talks about public caste display of marginalized SC, ST, OBC to diminish dominance of upper caste in India. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, chapter verse 14, you, that is upper caste, must not oppress a lowly, that is SC and ST Dalit people and poor OBC servant, whether one from among your fellow Israelites, that is Indians, or from the resident foreigners who are living in your land and villages. Amen.